Good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Jackie Owen and I'm the Relationship Manager at the College of Law, and I'm joined by my colleague, Anita Hall, who is one of our practical legal training lecturers at the college, and she's been doing this for a long time. She has seen many, many students go through the College of Law. So this is a great opportunity to hear from someone who potentially could be teaching you PLT very soon, and to ask any questions that you might have. So welcome. If you're watching this a little bit later on through the recording, then there'll be some contact details throughout the presentation. So please get in touch with me if there's any questions that we haven't answered. But let's, in the interest of keeping on time and being respectful of the other things that you have to do this evening, let's get started. Please feel free to put any questions that you might have in the chat box, or flick your microphone on and ask us directly. Happy for you to ask questions as we go, or if you want to keep your questions to the end, totally up to you. So I'm going to share my screen. I've got some slides here ready to go. So let's get started. We're here to talk about practical legal training, of course. I missed showing you the wonderful Jaya, who's actually a UQ alumni herself, as well as a graduate of the College of Law. So we do love Jaya. She's an incredible lawyer in the resources sector at the moment. So here's my contact information, as well as the social media handles for the College of Law. I think that following the college on Facebook and or LinkedIn is probably the best the best options in terms of gaining information about the profession, hearing about any free webinars or seminars that we have, which happen quite often. There's one coming up on the 3rd of November that is all about how to break into the legal profession, which I think will be a very interesting session. I would love anyone who's not already connected to me to jump on LinkedIn and send me a connection. I'd love to keep in touch. And that's a great way of being able to find me when you want to ask a question about PLT. You're more than welcome to email me as well. But I find that LinkedIn is a great way to connect with people because you can't lose their details. So let's get started. As we gather for this presentation, I recognise that many of you are watching online on different lands of different traditional custodians, and I'd like to acknowledge all of the traditional custodians of the lands we are each present on today, and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of our audience tonight or watching the recording at a later date. We pay our respects to each of their elders, past, present, and emerging. So let's talk about you guys building your boat. I do love this analogy. We're talking about the transition, of course, from law school into the legal profession. And university is all about building a nice, solid, seaworthy vessel to head out onto the seas of lawland, of course. So university is definitely teaching you those strong theoretical foundations that you, of course, require to become a lawyer. But what we do at PLT is teach you how to sail that boat. So we cover the practical tools that you'll need for your daily practice to work confidently and competently as an entry-level legal practitioner, and be able to go out there and have some confidence in what you are doing. Of course, you'll still keep learning for the years to come. As lawyers, we never stop learning, and the first 2 years post-admission will definitely be a very steep learning curve. But of course, the PLT is adding those practical legal skills that you need initially to start that entry level position. And it's very different from university. So let's talk about that a little bit further. So hopefully it isn't a shock to anyone listening that you need more than just your UQ law degree to call yourself a lawyer. In fact, if you do go around calling yourself a lawyer without being admitted into the profession through the practical legal training process, then you can get yourself into a lot of trouble, actually. So you do, of course, need that law degree. You can't become a lawyer without it. And it actually is quite amusing sometimes. From time to time, we do get random questions on our College of Law social media, which I'm privy to. asking, you know, what entry, I haven't got a law degree, so what's my pathway to becoming a lawyer? As well, go back and get a law degree. You actually do need that first step. So some of you will nearly be ticking off this first step, and I'm sure that's a very exciting thing, and that you're all looking forward to. Then the next step is coming to the College of Law and completing your practical legal training, or PLT. And that will actually gain you an additional postgraduate qualification called your graduate diploma in legal practice. And that's also a requirement that you need for admission. So once you've completed that, you'll take your UQ Law degree, your College of Law, graduate diploma of legal practice to the admitting body. So if you're hoping to practice in Queensland, it's the Queensland Legal Practitioners Admissions Board, and you'll go through that process, proving yourself a fit and proper person. And then you'll go and attend a admission ceremony that happened quite regularly. We had one, I think it was Monday last week, which was just lovely. You stand up in court, you've nominated someone to move your admission, and they stand up and state your name and your qualifications, and that you have the recommendation of the board, and apply for your admission. There'll be some presiding judges who will look at each other and nod and say, let such, insert your name, be admitted. And then you sit down and the next mover stands up. At the end, each group of lawyers being admitted will stand up and recite an oath and various things, and you say that all together. So you don't have to actually say anything on your own. So it was quite interesting. Last Monday, actually, it was my first time at a ceremony since the change in the monarch, and it was quite interesting hearing the new allegiance to King Charles III and not Queen Elizabeth II, which we've all been hearing for many, many years, of course. So that was like, oh, yes, things are changing. So that was fun. You'll then all move outside, sign the roll of solicitors, and then take a bunch of pictures and potentially go to a nice lunch with your friends and family who have supported you. So it really is a lovely day. And that then you'll apply for your practicing certificate, and that's when you'll be able to call yourself a lawyer. So you'll be able to work in legal roles and, of course, other non-legal roles. There's another inclusion there. Once you're admitted, a little bit back down the track, you might want to do the bar course and then work as a barrister, so be called to the bar. Now, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're going to stop at solicitor tonight because that's what we do through the practical legal training course. But that's in general the career pathway that you guys are on. So let's talk about the benefits of studying at the College of Law. We spoke to a bunch of our graduates just over a year ago now, and these are the top 4 things that they all said about when we asked them about, you know, what was it that you specifically liked about the College of Law. The main thing that all of our grads, whether we chat to them anecdotally or through formal surveys or through the project that we did last year, they all in their top 3 or 4 always mention flexibility. So our program is designed to be done while people are working. You can also do it while you're not working, of course, but it is very flexible. We've got lots of options that I'll sort of a bit like a choose your own adventure, that you guys, some decisions that you guys make as you enroll, so that you can fit PLT in and around your own specific life circumstances and what other things you've got on your plate. They also talk about the course giving them the practical skills that they need, as I mentioned before, to work confidently and competently within their first job, setting themselves up to know what they're doing, have confidence, and go out into practice in that entry-level job, and lots of tools along the way to support them as well. Setting them up for success, so being career ready from day one. And we've got lots of things coming soon as well. We've got a project that'll be will have launched by the time you guys have completed PLT, hopefully. We've been calling it, the working title is our New Lawyer Toolbox. It is going to be getting a spiffier name for that, but basically it's an online toolbox that will give you lots of resources so that when you're working and you think, oh, how do I do that? You can go to this toolbox and have some assistance. It'll also connect you to CPD, other people within the College of Law networks, and lots of other resources that will be very, very helpful. So that's coming soon. And they also say that they love that the College of Law has been around for such a long time. So it started in Sydney nearly 50 years ago, and pretty much all we've done for half a century is train lawyers. So we don't do any undergraduate law degrees. You obviously are at UQ doing that, but we take you from graduation out of UQ through practical legal training, through a master's program if you choose to do that later on, through CPD, and if you want to become a partner or open up your own law firm, we do the practice management course, we do mediation courses. So pretty much everything from graduating from uni through to retirement in your life as a lawyer, which is really exciting. And that's why we exist, to train lawyers. And there's about 30 big firms around the country that partner with us to train their graduates within their graduate program. And obviously lots of UQ students go into those programs, and you might meet Anita or one of our other lecturers who are dedicated to those groups. So Anita has a couple of firms that she specifically looks after, and those groups are her, she's a den mother, I guess. She herds them through massages them, and not massage, but looks after them and just chases after them and makes sure they're getting their stuff in on time, and says, right, guys, this is where we're up to, time to start getting your admission documents. So they are her specific group. So, and it's quite small often. Some of the groups are about 7, 12, 15, depending on how many the firm has recruited, which is great. So you've got that dedicated resource that's just for you. Now, if you are in one of our general courses, we also assign you a group mentor as well. So those classes are anywhere between, we had a group the other day, we had 2 groups, and they're about 13 or 14 each, I think. They're usually not more bigger than about 22, 23, Anita, depending on how many, depends on how many people enroll in that intake. But we never sort of fill up. Once it gets to a certain size, we make another group, assign another lecturer, and you will have that dedicated mentor. So whether it's Anita or Lisa or Graham or Jennifer, one of our amazing lecturers will be your first point of call. So if you've got any questions or problems or need a couple of extra days to get something in, then that's the person that you go to first. And if it's a question that they might need to, get some further information on, maybe an admin side of things, then they'll refer you to one of our other support teams. So it's all about supporting you through the course and getting you to that final destination, which is admission. So that's pretty much how it works. So here's our lovely friend Kirila, and she was one of the people that we chatted to last year about, and she's just become a barrister actually, and she's a great advocate for the College of Law. Now here's all the things that you have to think about as you're coming up to enrollment. So this is the choose your own adventure part. So it's very flexible. Each of you will make different selections or different options to some of these choices to make it fit around your own unique circumstances. So the first thing to decide is whether you want to do the program fully online or in what we call our mixed or our blended program. That word's interchangeable there. So before COVID, Anita and I would have been sitting here saying, okay, so week 1 is a week of intensive workshops, face-to-face, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and most of you would probably come to the College of Law campus in Brisbane, which is a stone's throw from the courts, very close to King George Square, Central Station, all the bus stops. It's very, very handy location in the middle of the city. And that's where you would have done week 1, and then the remainder of the course would have been online. Not online in the sense that you have to attend any lectures or tutorials, but online in the sense that you move through a body of work with support from your lecturers for the remainder of the course. But then, of course, COVID hit, and we had to change things up a bit for the time that we couldn't be together in person. And that week 1 moved online, but a little bit different to the rest of the course online. It was a Zoom classroom situation. So like this, but you would all have to have your cameras on, because Anita has to put her hand on her heart and promise the admitting body that you are all in attendance for every single workshop. That's her responsibility. And it would still be interactive. So you'd go off into breakout rooms, you'd come back, discuss what you've done, go back into another breakout room for the next activity. So it's still quite interactive, and it's great in that you can do it from the comfort of your home with your dog beside you, be at home without having to travel anywhere, as long as you've got that good sort of a quiet space and a good internet connection. So that's still on offer. We do, however, have some blended offerings coming up quite soon, actually. And that's because a lot of people are a little bit over the 100% online thing, and it is convenient, but some people are also really liking being back in that environment, meeting people from other universities and doing some networking. So our next blended intake in the Brisbane metropolitan area is at the College of Law, the first week of December. So that's quite exciting. If you're interested in that, I'd encourage you to get online and enroll in that as soon as possible. It does need minimum numbers to go ahead, and I think we're getting quite close. So if that's what you're thinking, go ahead and help those numbers so that you're doing your bit to ensure it goes ahead. We've got a lot of fully online options coming up as well. Another decision you've got to make is, would you like to do part-time or would you like to do full-time? Now, if you are working, we do recommend that you do the part-time course, just because full-time is around that 30 hours of work. You'll have a couple of things to submit a week, and it's quite intense on top of working as well. But if you're working part-time or not working, then there is the full-time option, which is 15 weeks. Now, week 1 will be full-time Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 for both the full-time and the part-time group. But you'll just do the remainder of the course either over the remaining 14 weeks or the remaining 29 weeks. So that's your decision as to what suits you best. Now, another option we've got, which I think is unique to the College of Law, is an evening option. So if it would be a little bit problematic or just not convenient for you to take that Monday to Friday 9 to 5 full-time option, then what we've done is we've taken that week 1, we've sort of split it into about 12 individual workshops, and we run that over 6 weeks on a Tuesday and Thursday evening from about 5:30 via Zoom. So that's become very popular. I mean, ideally, it's probably best to do that week in one lump at the beginning, but it's up to you and what's going on with your unique circumstances. So if that works better for you, then by all means, we've got about 4 offerings a year for that. So overall, there's about 150 intakes a year for practical legal training at the College of Law. Now, that's nationally, and the Queensland offering is around 30. So we've got part-time, full-time, evening, face-to-face, and also we've got a regional option. So if you are moving to the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, or into another area outside of Brisbane, then we do offer Cairns, Townsville, Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, Rockhampton, and Toowoomba face-to-face twice a year in those locations. Now, again, they have to have minimum numbers to go ahead. And this November, it looks like the Sunshine Coast is going ahead, whereas the others will roll into an online offering. So it just depends on who's keen in those areas. So those are the options that you'll choose. And I've already just mentioned that. That's all the different locations that we might teach face-to-face. And of course, always online fully as well. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of PLT. We like to divide it up into 3 different sections when we talk about PLT. The first is coursework. So that's the 15 weeks full-time or the 30 weeks part-time, and you'll move through that first week of intensive workshops, and you'll attend that either in person or online, as we talked about. And then for the remainder of the course, you'll do another 4 compulsory subjects and also choose 2 electives, and that becomes your program. And those electives will be based on where you're working, where your interests are, where you see yourself going in the future. So that's totally up to you. Then you'll do a work experience component. So Anita's going to talk about our coursework shortly and actually show you the system. So peel back the curtain and peek into the system of the College of Law to show you what resources and how it all works. But then I'm going to chat to you about work experience. So we've actually got 3 options for you there. So again, there's a decision to be made as to what suits you the best. And then I'm going to talk about the third component, which is continuing professional education. So to complete PLT, you need to tick off your coursework, tick off your work experience, tick off your continuing professional education, ideally by your course end date, but again, it is flexible. I talked to some people yesterday who are going to do their coursework first, and then they've lined up work experience for after their coursework. So they won't get their completion certificate and their paperwork till a little bit after maybe some of the people that they're doing PLT with, but that works best for them. So that's totally their decision. You actually do have 2 years after completing your coursework to start your work experience, although you need 3 ticks before you get that final certificate, but it's totally up to you. So I'm going to hand over to Nita, and she's going to talk about how the College of Law is all about learning by doing. It's not about memorizing big chunks of the law or learning the theoretical side of the law. We're actually putting it into practice. So we're learning, we're practicing the law in a safe, secure environment. There's no dire consequences. You won't send anyone to jail. No one's losing their kids or their business or their home or their money or their security or their anything. We'll get feedback on what we submit, so on our practical practice, and then we'll review that feedback, learn from it, and improve things for next time. So that's pretty much the circle of life. So what I might do is just go stop share over here, and then that will let Anita share her screen, and I can see it, Anita.
Okay, so what I have in front of you is what we call the learning portal, and this is operated through Canvas. And I've just opened up a civil litigation practice because I have to show you something. So why not show you civil litigation? So when you log into your subject, you can see that it's divided up into a couple of different things. So we have our overall navigation panel. We have our navigation panel for within the particular subject, and if that annoys you, you can actually turn it off like that. And then we have the information about the subject itself just popping up here. So we have a little bit of an introduction overview of what the subject is about. So this is quite similar to what you might be familiar with for your undergraduate subjects. So the synopsis, the syllabus, sorry, that you get at the start of each semester for each of your subjects. This is what this is about. So this is what you're going to be learning in civil litigation. So each of our subjects are broken up into a number of different tasks. So those tasks relate to a type of activity that you're going to be doing within that practice area when you're a lawyer working in this area. And each of those tasks is then divided up into a number of different activities. So that might sound scary. Oh, we've got 3 tasks and we've got maybe 2 or 3 activities within each of those tasks. Oh my goodness, that's so much more than university. But these are much smaller, much more practical things than your 5,000 word research essay, which you're probably trying to compare it to. So instead of writing a 5,000 word essay, you're going to be writing a letter of advice to a client, trying to keep it to 1,000 words, more or less, and get everything that the client needs to know to them in a nice, plain English, professional manner. So it's really about applying that theoretical knowledge that you've gained through your studies for your law degree and working out how that fits into the business of being a lawyer on a day-to-day basis. How do you use that on an everyday basis to actually help your clients? So if we click into the task, we can see that then opens a whole little menu here. So as I said, everything's divided into a number of activities. So task 1 here, we have our homepage, which will tell us about the task. And then we've got the activities. And you can see activity 1, activity 2, and activity 3. So this is about how to think about the case. So assessing the merits of the case. Do we have a good case? Is our client likely to succeed if we go to court? What are some of the issues they might face? What are some of the key things they need to know? What are the risks that they're going to face if we actually start this? Instructions, so the actual file you'll be working on, the resources you'll be using, a case study to help you apply your knowledge and test things out, and then your actual submission. And you can see that each of those activities is drafted up, broken up like that. So what you're going to be doing, what you need to know to be able to do it, how to do it, and now you're going to upload it, and someone like me is going to read it. So if we jump into one of these, so assessing the merits of the case, you can see here, we've got an overview of what we're doing. So we're going to advise on the course of action, identify weaknesses, anticipate defense, and whether or not they're going to succeed, likely to succeed. Obviously, nothing is guaranteed. We have our file, so we can open that, download it, and then we can work from that PDF as we go through. We have a template. So we actually do give you templates and examples and exemplars and precedents and those sorts of things for you to work with for a lot of things as well. We can click into the tab here for our resources. And so here we go, some notes. So these are relatively short documents, steps in litigation, what a litigation pathway looks like, and a PDF of the template. We have specific sections of the textbooks, so our practice papers. So those are papers to help you practice law. And they are our textbooks, which we review every year. And so you can see here that we actually direct you to 2 very specific parts of that to help you work through this particular activity. Relevant legislation, and those are linked, of course, so that should open up into that particular legislation, and then additional resources which might be useful. So things like the court websites, if you're looking for information about court fees, timetables, jurisdictions, all of those sorts of things you might be able to find there if you're after it, and forms is the most important thing. We have a case study. So this is where we actually have something for you to practice with and to think through. So here, our proof-making model is just a way to start you help think about the merits of the case, what you know, what you need to know, what your gaps might be, so that you can start thinking about whether or not your client's likely to be successful. And so this is just going to help you work through that. And so really, really simple starting out. Who is going to be the plaintiff? Is it going to be the company? Is it going to be the director? Is it going to be the defendant? Is it going to be, sorry, the defendant director? Is it going to be the defendant company? So you select the right one. I'll select the wrong one here and we can actually check it. Oh, there we go. Sorry, it is the correct one. So you can work through that as often as you like until you get it right, until you're confident that you understand it. Whenever you are able to actually devote yourself to your learning. So if that's midnight in your pajamas with a bowl of popcorn, go for it. If that's Sunday afternoon, some people like to do that, absolutely fine. That's there for you to work through. Once you're happy and you have worked through the activity that you've been assigned, you go to the submission page and you literally just upload your document, just as you would be quite familiar with already. So that is it in a nutshell. What then happens is it comes to me and I have or for example, someone like me, I have a look and I will have a look at what you've done and make any comments that you might need to actually maybe amend something. Maybe you didn't quite get something quite right and I need you to have another go at it, and I'll give you some tips as to what you need to look for, maybe some resources that you might have missed, and you can have another go applying that without the risk of the client going to jail, for example, or the partner yelling at you. And then once all of your activities are to the level we would expect of an entry-level lawyer, so that is something that you would be happy to hand to a partner and they're not going to make any major significant changes. There will still be red pen because there always is red pen. The partners are quite particular in these firms, but it would be a really, really good draft that they're going to be pretty impressed with. And then once all of your activities are to that level, you sit the oral assessment. Now, the oral assessment is over a web conference, very much like this. So me on one side, you on the other, and I'll be asking you questions about the things you learnt as you worked through the course. So it is a 100% face-to-face exam, and that might sound terrifying, but it's really designed to be a conversation and very similar to the conversation you might have with a supervisor in practice. So what did you do? Why did you do that? Why did you make that decision? Where did you find the relevant information? What did you need to know? What are the gaps? Those sorts of things. So it's not going to be what did you write in the second sentence of your third paragraph of your letter of advice to the client. It's going to be things like what did you need to tell your client? Why is it important that they know that? What happens if you don't advise them? What happens if they don't follow your advice? What might the consequences be? What if you don't tell them? What might the consequences be for you? So it's really around those things that you have learnt, drawing from the resources that we've directed you to there. And that is it in a nutshell, I think, Jackie, unless there's any questions.
There's no questions in the chat box at the moment, but does anyone have any questions for Anita? The resources that we give you are really good. So as Anita says, we review everything very regularly, and that's how each subject works. It mimics work. Here's a file. This is what we need you to do. Here's some examples. Go ahead, do it, and submit it. And then we chat. We have a chat at the end, and that's your assessment. So it's very much about learning by doing.
That said, I should say that while you don't have your web tutorials or lectures or anything like that with PLT, you have someone, me or someone like me, on the end of email, and we can always have a phone call or a Zoom call, and most people tend to like email because you can send that off whenever you're working on it, and I'll get to it when I'm in the office. But we can absolutely set up that time frame if you want to discuss things or you don't understand or anything like that. So you have that resource specifically available to you if you want to reach out and use it.
Exactly, and that's from that whoever is your dedicated lecturer for your group. So they're like your online mentor available for that specific group, and that's your first port of call. And of course, another thing the lecturers do actually is they do these things called feed forwards. So at the beginning of a subject, Anita, so what's your announcements, will basically, or whoever, someone like Anita will saying, this is what we're learning in this subject, and this is, you know, what we require of you. So there's lots of help and support, and it is very much mimicking work in that, yes, your boss doesn't say, okay, I need 1,000 words on my desk on next Friday about where you're up to. They say, hey, where are you up to? Come in and tell me about it. So it's giving you that experience of being able to explain yourself also to clients who haven't got law degrees, most likely, and hopefully they won't need, you know, they won't understand the legal jargon. So it's not about using big words, it's about explaining the complex legal situation in that, as Anita said, that clear, concise English. So thanks, Anita. There's no questions, but feel free, if anything pops into your head, to let us know towards the end.
But I'm going to leave you.
Oh, that's right. But I'll be here.
Yeah, if you do have questions for me, Jackie will pass them on and we'll get back to you tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Anita's very kindly fit us in between her next appointment for the evening. So thanks for joining us, Anita. I shall see you online tomorrow and in the office next week. And if anyone does have any questions, you know, that we need a lecturer to answer, we can definitely get those answered. So thanks, Anita. Have a good evening, and I'll see you later. Excellent. Let's talk about the next. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. Hopefully everyone can see that. I'm also just going to Every time you share a screen, you lose the chat box. I've got the chat box up here. Excellent. Okay, so I'll keep an eye on that. So, to summarize, PLT coursework, so the 15 or the 30 weeks is all about giving you skills for real life, role-playing, interviews, negotiation, courtroom appearances under the guidance of someone like Anita, real lawyers who are either very experienced lawyers and are now teaching full-time at the College of Law, much like Anita, or they are teaching part-time with the College of Law and they are still lawyers, barristers, mediators, tribunal members. So we have many hundreds of years combined legal experience in our online teaching team. So you know the cream of the Queensland professionals who you will be taught by. So that's really exciting. You'll be mastering the day-to-day, so practicing those tasks that will be required of you in that first that entry-level legal job, and you'll be getting that feedback. And that's what our grads say to us over and over again, actually, that the feedback was really valuable. It's tailored. It's not sort of cut and pasted from a document with sort of, you know, all the sort of generic feedback. It's very tailored to your work. And then those review sessions or oral assessments at the end are chats about what you've learned, reflecting on what you've learned, and sort of answering questions about why you did things and how you came to that final sort of advice. Now, that's the first section. So you'll tick off your coursework, and then you'll also at the same time or after your coursework, it does depend on your situation, but most people do their work experience at the same time. This is the second component of PLT. So you'll be looking at doing the 75-day option. And to be honest, about 80% of our students probably are working full-time in the legal profession. So this is just the job that your graduate job that you get if you go into one of the firms, if you're judge's associate, whatever your role might be. It's many different roles that fit within the work experience rules, and you'll do 75 days of work experience and then a reflective journal on the final 15 days. Now, here's something exciting. I know that quite a few of you are potentially working already, and the exciting news is that you can actually claim 60 out of the 75 days of work experience if you have completed them in the 2 years before starting PLT. So your final year of uni, for example, or your penultimate year of uni. So let's just say you were in the group that started with us last week. So October 2022, if they look back to October 2020 and they can find 60 days, doesn't have to be with the same employer, but 60 days of work experience, they can claim that, put that towards their 75 days. The final 15 has to be done during the time you're doing your PLT coursework, or you've actually got 2 years after PLT coursework's completed to start your work experience. So as you can see, lots and lots of time, and it's completely up to you when you do it. You'll put in some forms. One form technically goes in at the beginning, but if you're already working, then you can put it in retrospectively. That's probably what most people do. And then a form at the end. You'll sign it, your supervisor will sign it. It has to be the same person, and that just tells college sort of what you, and you literally write the dates of the days that you were there to make it up to the 75 days. Now, as the standard option, the short format is 15 days and with an additional 6-week online program. So it's another subject, and that subject's called our clinical experience module. It's an extra subject, so there is an additional cost if you choose to do that subject, and you can actually pop both all your course fees and your work experience, extra work experience fees on your fee help, which is the postgraduate equivalent of HECS. So those are the two options that we have had before COVID. And then after when COVID hit and all sort of the work experience opportunities were you know, just falling out of the sky, and there wasn't anything around, and it was all very stressful, actually. The College of Law went to all the admitting bodies in every state and put forward an option that was 0 days work experience with an additional 8-week subject. So again, a body of work, much like the 6-week clinical experience module, with a mentor. So yes, you'll have a lecturer like Anita that will be your group mentor, but in this case, you'd get assigned a one-to-one mentor as well, who is someone very experienced, very senior within the profession. Now, this at the moment is running through till the mid-2023. So if you're not coming to us for a couple of years, it probably won't be available. If you're coming to us at the end of this year, then yes, it will be available. We would, of course, like this to go forever. However, it's actually up to the Chief Justice, and we've just had a new Chief Justice appointed, and the admitting bodies. So if they decide it's got to stop, and they sort of extend it for 6 months at a time, and at the moment, it actually just has not long been extended through till mid-2023. So those are 3 options. The standard option, 75 days of work experience, 60 of them can be done in the 2 years prior to PLT with a reflective journal on the final 15 days. The 15 days, which has to be, so the short format, which is 15 days during PLT, or the work experience can be done after PLT, but nothing can be done before, with an extra subject and a body of work within the clinical experience model, and that does incur a fee for that extra subject. And then the in-practice component, again, an additional fee, and no days of work experience, but an 8-week subject and body of work, mimicking sort of being in the workplace with a one-to-one mentor. So those are the 3 options, or the 2 options, depending on when you're starting. Now, work experience examples, many different jobs will fit the rules. So what we're looking to see is that you are using a file management system, you've had exposure to clients, you are drafting documents and doing legal research. So the 4 things we're looking to tick off, but that can be done in a clerkship, and you can also, in the 75 days, you know, have several different jobs. You might be a judge's associate, you might be doing paralegal work, volunteering in a community legal centre, working with barristers. So as you can see, a lot of, and that doesn't even, you know, that's only the tip of the iceberg, of course. But if your work is meets the criteria, then it can be counted. So those are just some examples. So that's the second component. And then the third component is the continuing professional development or education, CPE or CPD, whatever you want to call it. We tend to call it CPE. Now, when you are a lawyer with a practicing certificate, you will need to do, the admitting body requires you to do CPE every year to maintain that practicing certificate. You do need to pay a renewal every year and get a new one. The CPD year starts on the 1st of April. It goes through to the 31st of March. So it's kind of, you know, a bit odd. It's not financial year or calendar year. So we practice that. So this is probably the easiest one out of the 3. We just say, here are 10 self-paced online interactive modules based on legal tech and business skills for the changing future of law. And they're giving you those sorts of business skills, but also introducing you, if you're not already know anything about it, that sort of AI, legal tech disruption in law, which I'll tell you about our Centre for Legal Innovation shortly. So that's really exciting. That ticks that off. You could do them one a weekend. You can smash them all out in one session, whatever works for you. And you'll get an additional certificate of legal tech and business. Add that to your resume. But once you've completed those 10 modules, that's your CPE, and that's all included within your course fee. So that's CPE. So I think I've mentioned before, there's so much support at the College of Law. Probably at this stage, I am your first port of call. So I'm your Queensland Relationship Manager. I'm on campus from time to time, but I'm available at the end of a LinkedIn message or a phone call or an email. If you've got any questions, please do get in touch. But we also have our fabulous student liaison team, and they're based in Sydney, also available at the end of a phone, end of an email. And pretty much from now through to when you're in the course, they're there to answer any questions that you might have, help you with that admin side of things, or just, you know, direct any queries. But you can, of course, ring through to the Queensland office directly. And if we can't help directly, then we we connect you with those guys. They're great. There is, of course, then your instructing team, your online mentors like Anita, and they're there to get you through the course and support you, help you if you need sort of extensions for anything. And don't suffer in silence. If something's going on and you're not quite sure, you don't understand, something's come up at work or at home that's sort of impacting your PLT, then just get in touch with either a student liaison team or your lecturer. And believe me, there's nothing that you can tell us that we haven't dealt with before, and we'll be able to make a plan to help you and support you through the course. Then, of course, we have our wonderful career coaches. So Susan Pincus is pictured in that photo, but she has an amazing colleague, Ruth, and they are available just for College of Law students and graduates up to a year for one-on-one assistance. So you can book in to see one of them for help with interview prep, resume reviews, building your personal brand. They also run a lot of free webinars, and the next one, or the last one for the year that they're doing, is on the 3rd of November, which is about breaking into the legal profession. So that will be advertised next week. So if you see that, that's a great one to attend. So they're fabulous. And then College Connections, you can connect with hundreds of employers on our jobs board, and there's actually some good opportunities up there at the moment. And I sent 2 emails to 2 other companies today who are interested in advertising there. So there'll be some more opportunities coming there too. So a lot of them are looking for PLT students, but some of them are also looking for undergrads. So maybe keep half an eye on it. Okay, so I think I've mentioned this. Here are the costs. So College of Law is all about each individual person only paying for what they need. So everyone will pay the course fee, which for Australian citizens and permanent residents is $10,150. Fee help is available for those people as well. If you're an international student, it's $14,650, and that gets paid up front. Now, if you're doing the standard option of 75 days of work experience, that's it. That includes your practice papers, which Anita mentioned. They're kind of a cross between a how-to guide and a textbook. So that's provided for you. You can ask for a physical copy, but everyone has access to the online one, and then it's your own environmental decision as to whether you get the paper copy or not. Some people, it's nice sometimes to have that. And a lot of people keep that in their offices for years to come, actually. It's a very handy, some very handy material, but you do have, it'll go into that new lawyer toolkit as well, the online version. If you do the short format, you'll pay your course fees plus the clinical experience module course fee, which is $1,610. It's very random, the 10, but that's what it is. That's also available to put on fee help if you're eligible. And if you do the in-practice component, you'll pay the course fee, but the extra $2,000 for that, which includes being matched with your mentor. And that all of that your course fee will be the access to your CPD as well. So everything that you need. Oh, here's a little bit of a summary about 2021, which seems like a terribly long time ago now. Ruth and Susan saw 425 people for their one-on-one appointments. Now, Ruth only started with us mid-year, and I know that number's much higher this year. They delivered we delivered 180 PLT programs in 7 Australian states and territory. Many of those were in Queensland, of course. Over 5,000 people came through the College of Law last year on their way to the profession. We had over about 277 qualified lawyers mentoring our students, and we taught in 19 different locations. Now, we had over 1,000 jobs on our jobs board. Susan and Ruth hosted 11 free career webinars with 31 guest speakers. I know those numbers are again higher this year. And an exciting thing is, if you do come back to our master's program as a graduate of PLT, our 8-subject master's becomes a 6-subject program, because we give you credit for 2 electives, and with 4 sort of subject start dates a year. that will see that completed one subject at a time in a year and a half. And then the Centre for Legal Innovation, I've already mentioned, but if you have any interest in that legal tech space, and I was at a meeting today where the director was talking about, what's going on in this space. And it's really incredible, and it is the future of the profession. The Centre for Legal Innovations just celebrated 6 years this year, and it's an innovation-focused think tank, which works with many global and local and Australian and national firms and tech startups. And as students, you can apply for a free student membership and go to lots of online and in-person events, and they have lots of exciting things. So get on our website, collaw.edu.au, and check that out. They're doing some amazing things. So again, the choice is yours. Choose your own adventure. Do you want to do the program 100% online with that week 1 online via Zoom? Do you want to do that week 1 in a face-to-face? So that makes your course blended. So week 1's face-to-face, the rest is online. So if you're interested in that Brisbane course, please do enroll for that sooner rather than later. If anyone wants to talk to me, I'll give you some contact details so that you can chat to me about that directly if you like. Full-time over 15 weeks, part-time over 30 weeks, standard work experience, short work experience, or the in-practice component. And also there's the evening option as well. So lots of ways to customize your course for you. I think I've mentioned most of this. We've been doing this for nearly 50 years. Nationally, 77% of law graduates come through the College of Law, but we do have the benefit of being a big national body with a real local focus as well. So that's exciting. In Queensland, I've just crunched the numbers for last financial year. It was around about 70% of all admissions into the profession last year were College of Law graduates. And of course, those big firms, if you end up in one of those, you'll end up at the College of Law. So here's some things to think about when deciding on a PLT provider. Do they have regular intakes? Well, we have over 30 in Queensland alone, or 150 nationally. So pretty much if you miss one, you don't have to wait a whole semester or 6 more months for the next course. They're happening all the time. Study your way, part-time, full-time, evening. 3 different work experience options, so decisions to be made there. Can you do the program quickly? Yes, in 15 weeks at the College of Law, providing you're ticking all your boxes and keeping up to date and getting your work experience organised. It can be done quite quickly. Ask your friends and your colleagues who they've done PLT through. You don't have to go very far within the UQ community to find graduates of the College of Law. There's even some current students doing the course. I forgot to mention that. If you're heading into your final semester and you've done all your pre-SLE 11 subjects and you have no more than 2 electives to go, you can apply to the admissions board to come into PLT even before you've left uni. And I know there's a few people doing honours that are also doing PLT at UQ. And as I mentioned before, yes, we're a big national body. We are the market leader. Over 77% of Australian graduates are coming through the College of Law, but we are also a local campus with local content, local practice papers reviewed annually by our local practitioners. And we've got Queensland lawyers teaching you Queensland law. So while the lawyer's skills are obviously the same across the board, when you are doing things like property, you are being taught Queensland law, and your materials are all Queensland focused. The best of both. So connect with the College of Law and with me. Our website is collaw.edu.au/PLT if you want to go directly to the PLT pages. I'd love you to connect with me on LinkedIn, but also follow the College of Law. Facebook and LinkedIn are probably the best forms of sources of information. And there's my details. So if you did want to chat to me directly about your unique situation or just ask me any further questions, probably the best thing to do is send me a message via LinkedIn or an email jon@collaw.edu.au, and we can set up a time to chat. Or if you did want to try and get me on the telephone, 32344560. So I'm going to stop sharing and come back to the main screen and see if anyone has any questions for me or anything else that they want to talk about this evening. My chat box over here so I can see you all. I know that was a lot of information. Hopefully we got through it and explained it okay for you. I do encourage people to come to this presentation. We do it every semester a couple of times as they're moving through their course, just because, you know, you pick up on different things each time, but we're definitely here to answer questions at any time that you have them. Charlotte, is there anything else you wanted me to touch on this evening?
Oh, no, that was great. Thank you, Jackie. And I'll definitely share all of the recordings with everyone, because I know there are a lot of other students interested in watching that have been at work and things.
Oh, so thanks. I will download this straight away as soon as we finish, and I'll send it off to our marketing team, and they just tidy it up a little bit, and then I'll get that out to you with some links. So I'll send it to everyone online today. So I've got a link to our handbook, a link to our LinkedIn tips guide, and a few other documents that I think are quite handy. So I just sort of send those out as well, and that'll of course have my email.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone finds them very useful, so that'd be great.
Excellent. All right, well, look at us all ready to go by 6:59 p.m. How's that for good timing? All right, I shall release you all to get back to doing whatever assessment piece you're working, have your dinner, or watch whatever is your choice of trashy TV of a Thursday evening, or feed the dog, or whatever you got to do. So thanks everyone for being with us. Thanks, Charlotte, for organising. And I look forward to seeing you guys at the College of Law soon, or on campus, or chatting to you either over email or on the phone. So thanks again. Have a great night, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, Jackie.
Thanks, team. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, thanks, Jan. Bye.